You might be watching a lot of successful people within the spiritual niche and wonder, what am I doing wrong? And I'm not making this video to bash anyone, because a lot of these people have been very helpful to me, and the advice that many of them are giving are sound. But this successful lifestyle that is on display is not the reality for most people. Hello from Sweden and welcome to Everyday Mystic, a channel about God, about spiritual awakening and about freedom. So, I've been reading a lot of comments lately, on Reddit, comments on YouTube videos, etc. And I see a lot of people are struggling today. People are wondering, what am I doing wrong? Why is my life falling apart? Why am I feeling so lonely? Why are all of these emotions coming up for me? What am I doing wrong? And well, there are ways to make this a little easier. There are ways of making the shift a little smoother. There are ways of allowing the emotions to come up without resisting it. And we are going to talk about this today as well. But first and foremost, I want to talk about this big thing that I'm seeing, because it's very easy to get a skewed perspective. You see all of these very successful people within the spiritual niche, and you think, why am I not manifesting this dream life that I'm seeing these people displaying? And again, I want to make it clear, I'm not bashing any of these people. Because there is a shift that we are moving towards, and some people are closer to this shift than others. But we are very selective when we see things. When we see one person after another that have these amazing lives, it's very easy to think that this is all there is to spiritual awakening. So I'm here to tell you instead that my spiritual awakening at least has been, for the most part, terrible. I've had all of these crazy emotions that we've just been talking about coming up. I've had my life totally fall apart. I've lost about $100,000, which is a million Swedish kroner. I've gone into debt. I've struggled with a lot of negative emotions. I've felt a lot of times like I don't know if it's really any point going on anymore. And I am just now coming out on the other side. It was a while back that I started to realize what all of this was all about actually. And that was when I started to do this channel, started to communicate both things that I knew and things that I thought I knew at the time. I've had to revise a lot of my ideas along the way, as you can see if you go back and listen to my older videos. But that is beside the point right now. The point is that I'm going to talk a little bit about what is actually happening when you are starting to wake up. Because this is something that I can see in retrospect, but I was not aware of it at the time when they were happening. When you wake up, all your dysfunctions will surface. Whether it is a dysfunctional relationship with money, with anger, with numbness, with disconnection from other people, with judgment, with unconscious manipulation, etc., etc., etc. All of these things are things that I've had to deal with in my own life. And there is a very important point here, namely unconsciousness. Before these things started to come up, they were unconscious. And they were also manageable, and this is very important. When you wake up spiritually, these things that were not such a big problem before suddenly start to become totally unmanageable. And the more you resist looking at them, the more you put responsibility outside of yourself, the more you blame other people for your problems, the more difficult this is going to be. But this is not to say that you should judge yourself for it, because this is something that we all go through. And even after you've listened to this video, you will still fall back into these patterns, because this is what the ego does. Because this is essentially what we are doing. We are dismantling the ego's structures so that the real us can start to shine through. And if you've listened to some other of my videos, you know that what I am teaching here is that the real us is essentially our connection with infinite consciousness, our connection with God. In our absolute purest form, there is no difference. But this is not to confuse our little ego with God. This is the opposite of this. The more you identify with the ego, the less of your divinity will shine through. And these are all of these things like acquiring humility, acquiring presence, taking responsibility for our lives, etc. But we will continue to struggle with this as long as we have not dealt with all of these things. But they will become more painful the more we resist them. So, our lives will become messed up for a while, and that's okay. And it's important to remember that this is a natural part of the process. I know that it is very difficult to keep this in mind when our whole lives fall apart. As I said, I've struggled with feelings of I can't do this anymore, I just want to get out of this world. And I've been as far away from gratitude when it comes to my human experience as you can possibly be. Now, this shift can be done in an instant, but for most people it will not happen. I think that there are some examples of it, and I think that probably, I'm not through this shift completely either, but probably there will be some sort of breaking point where you will in retrospect say that, oh, it was this simple all the time. And there will also, when you are starting to move a little bit closer to this, when you are starting to see the finish line, you will also feel like, oh, have I really gone through all of these struggles unnecessarily? But it is not unnecessarily. Everything is part of the journey. All of this resistance that you feel toward your present moment experience right now is also part of the journey. This push-pull relationship with reality that you are sort of starting to discern is moving you towards a surrender, moving you towards resting in the arms of infinite consciousness, which you are part of. All of this is part of the journey. But you are also probably starting to discern a little bit that there is a shift happening. You are moving closer to something, but your ego resists. Because your ego will never understand what is going on. Your ego will keep insisting that this physical 3D material reality is all there is, and that is where your problems are located, so that is where you have to focus. And this is what you have to get out of. This is what you gradually will get out of as long as you are still here having this physical human experience. You will start noticing that you are not attached to your body. That what you are is so much more than your physical body, than your physical brain. And at the end of this is infinite consciousness. You can choose to be in this right now, but you probably won't, and it's okay. You can see the underlying perfection of every experience, but you will continue to resist this knowing. But something in you must be resonating with this, because this is the truth about reality, no matter how much your ego is trying to resist it. There is an underlying perfection in the present moment, and actually everything that you perceive as imperfect with your experience is just an illusion. The perfection, the kingdom of God, God's perfection is present here and right now. You can experience heaven on earth right here and right now. But your ego is clouding your perception. And this is very important to realize, that you get an experience that is adapted to what you focus on. And the more you can actually start to listen to your thoughts, realize what is actually taking place up in your mind, because this is one of these little tricks that your mind is playing on you. You are usually not nearly as aware of what is going on up there as you think that you are. For example, and I'm going to use a little example from my own life when this journey really started to take off, when all of these things started to come up for me. I was like, I'm thinking positively, I am doing all of these things that these teachers are telling me that I should do. And then when I started to observe myself a little bit, I could see that I was waking up every morning feeling dread, just wanting to go back to sleep again. All of these negative thoughts blasting me the first minute after waking up. And I was like, oh no, I'm positive. I'm treating my life with gratitude. I'm happy and so on. While I was in reality in total misery in my mind. And I was of course not in the present moment. I was thinking about all the things that went wrong in the past and all of the things that might go wrong in the future, that probably would go wrong in the future. And I tried to control everything in my life. And now I'm starting to see the futility of this. But this took me 7 years to realize. Or 6-7 years, something like that. A very long time. Now, I started waking up 20 years ago, but it was not until I met my wife that these things actually started to take off for real for me. And I can honestly say that we both had so many patterns that started to come up for both of us. And we were both very quick to move away from this wonderful relationship that we had in the beginning, and going into all of these victim modes and blaming each other for everything, instead of both taking responsibility for the things that were coming up. And then when we started to realize this, there was of course also a period of self-blame, that how could I be so blind to this? All of these things I'm telling you so you can understand what you can expect from your experience. Of course, everyone's experience is different. Everyone has their personal journey. Everyone has their personal programming, their personal energetic blockages, which is connected with the suppressed emotions that we all carry around within us. And we all have our individual difficulties with just releasing these things, because these blockages will keep triggering us into the same behavior until we are actually able to take a step back from this and just allow the experience to be what it is. And this is a big key to all of this. Allow the experience to be what it is, because the more you can just treat your experience with stillness and realize that you don't have to go into any reactive behavior. You don't have to do anything to make your experience different from what it actually is. If you can actually integrate this, if you can actually understand this, a lot of things will shift for you. And you can actually do just one little simple experiment here. You might pause the video or you might continue listening to it. Feel free to do whatever you want, but just try to take one conscious breath. Be aware of your breathing, and just feel into your body. And notice that you are becoming more grounded in the present moment just by doing this. Notice how something very real, tangible shifts within you. And you can do this whenever you want throughout your day. You can do it in just 10 seconds. And you will notice that something within you calms down, something within you anchors in the present moment, and something within you shift. And let's continue on this thread for a little while. Stop treating the present moment as a means to an end, and start treating the present moment as an end in itself. And what you will begin to notice is that first and foremost, you notice a lot more things going on in the present moment. The present moment becomes much more exciting and interesting when you're not just trying to get somewhere else or you're caught up in regrets of something that happened in the past. The past doesn't exist anymore, and the future is not here yet. All there is the present moment. And you can at any moment take this step out of the cycle of past and future and just be here with the experience, and you will start notice how your experience is starting to flow in a different manner. Just try it. It will take some time probably for this to click, but you will notice that the more you can be here and just allow whatever is present to be there, the easier it will also be to follow your intuition. You will start to get these little nudges what you should do, as long as you can actually listen to what the present moment is trying to tell you. What your thoughts are trying to tell you beyond this whiny complaint that has become such a natural part for most of our experience. And you can also start seeing that your body is starting to act in a different manner. You are still in control, but it is your connection to this higher consciousness that you are a part of that is starting to flow through all of your actions. You will see that you don't need to exert more effort than is necessary for getting the task at hand accomplished. These are all the kinds of things that you will start to experience the more you can just be here and now and be present with your experience. But make no mistake about it, your mind will try to trick you into get into this old habitual reactive mode, and there is nothing wrong with it. Just by being able to take a step back and noticing it, you have made progress. So in fact, as long as the present moment is not just slipping you by, and when it does you will not be aware of it anyway. As soon as you become aware of it, you are making progress. And make no mistake about it, every fall is a fall forward. You are never really moving backwards, even if it might seem like it sometime. And what you will realize in this is that reality is much more than you perceive with your five senses. This little 3D reality that you are focused on right now is just a tiny, tiny fraction of the whole of the experience that you are capable of having. But as I said, when 3D hits, The magic that is inherent in your everyday experience is very easily gone. Suddenly all that matters is the argument that you had with your spouse or your girlfriend or your boyfriend or whatever, or the bills that you don't know how you are going to be able to pay, or all of these problems that you see around you. All of this is suddenly all that matters. But make no mistake about it, reality is magical. Everything is fundamentally exactly as it should be, and everything that is speaking to the contrary is just an illusion. And remember this, you are eternal. Even though everything seems very temporal, very finite and so on, you are an eternal spiritual being, you are immortal, and the perfection of existence itself is present with you right here, right now. You are just caught up in the ego's illusions, and in the end there is nothing wrong with anything. But the ego will kick and scream and resist this, and it will cause all kinds of pain along the way. But there is nothing wrong with anything of this. And there is nothing wrong with all of these things that feel wrong right now. You are exactly where you are supposed to be. And just try to lean into this knowing. And it will become a little easier with time, I promise you, even though it does not seem like this at the time. Remember, I lost all my money, I got into debt, I went through what I would call at least a medium-sized depression, and I felt terrible about everything in my life at a point. I'm through this now. But it took me 7 years, about 7 years to get here. And really, if you want to count all the way back, it took me 20 years from waking up. So, you can realize this. Experience yourself as part of something greater right here, right now. You can lean into this experience more and more. And this greater whole, this greater consciousness is always working through you. And I want to finally remind you that there is something amazing, magical waiting for you on the other side. This, and I can speak with confidence about this because I have the experiences to back it up, even though my ego has forgotten all of these experiences when it has become sucked into the 3D reality. I can promise you this today, that on the other side of all of these complexities and triggered patterns of behavior and so on, there is something amazing waiting for you. So just hang in there. It's coming. And that is where we are going to stop today. If you like this video, leave a like, leave a comment and share the video on social media and other places. All of it helps the channel to grow. And I want to recommend that you also check out my other channel that I'm running together with my wife, Internet Mystic Database. I will leave a link to one of the videos that is related to this one, about the difference between being and doing, at the end screen that you can see right now. And also, if you haven't done it already, subscribe to the channel and check out the description and the comment section for other things that me and my wife are doing. And other than that, just sincerely thank you for your time.